Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. Hope you're having a really good week. It's always good to have a good week, but even better when it's Christmas time. And I hope you're getting ready, whatever it is you have left to do. Don't wait till the last minute so you can enjoy this wonderful time of the year. Well, I want to continue in our quest to talk about Christmas. And today I want to talk in Luke chapter 1, verses 18 to 20. Now, you remember I talked about how the angel came to Zechariah and met him inside the sanctuary there and explained what was going to happen. Well, then we find these words. Zechariah said to the angel, remember the angel talked to Zechariah, so now he's going to talk back and he says, how can I be sure this will happen? For I am an old man now, and my wife is also well along in years. Then the angel said, I am Gabriel. I stand in the very presence of God. It was he who sent me to bring you this good news. But now, since you didn't believe what I said, you will be silent and unable to speak until the child is born. For my words will certainly be fulfilled at the proper time. Well, there are kind of two ways to look at this part of the story. The first one is to see a man, Zechariah, who doesn't have enough faith. And I guess you could make a case for that. But the other way to look at it is the context in which this was happening and what it must have been like for this guy, Zechariah. He's just been told some incredible news. His wife's going to have a baby. That's incredible because, as he says here, I'll read how he phrased it. I am an old man now, and my wife is also well along in years. That's simply a nice way of saying these two folks were old, apparently well beyond normal childbearing years, or at least the belief of that. So when you look at the situation around Zechariah, he's just trying to make sense out of something that doesn't make any sense in his mind. He starts out by saying is, how can I be sure what you tell me is going to happen? Well, all of us have had moments of unbelief. Many of us have had many moments of unbelief. And there may be some who are listening who've had no moments of belief in God doing something. So Zechariah is really just being like you and me. How do I know this is going to happen? Just take a look here, guy. I mean, look at what you see. This is not a young fella, and my wife certainly isn't young. Are you sure you got the right couple? You can almost hear a humorous exchange here, except it's not really humorous. And the angel says, I'm Gabriel. I stand in the very presence of God. And I told you this. And then he says, but. You ever noticed in life how many times a but shows up in the conversation? I forgive you, but I'd like to come over, but I sure wish I had some of what you have, but you see, we always want to have an out. We always want to have an excuse for not doing, believing, whatever it is the first part of the statement is. And here the angel, Gabriel, is pointing out to Zechariah, you've got a but here. You've got a clause that says you don't think it's going to happen. You can almost hear somebody saying, you really think God would tell a lie? If God promises something, you really think he doesn't mean it? When God promises us peace and joy, you really think he's kidding? Well, of course not. I mean, I think God has a sense of humor. Here's one of them. He picks an old couple. you know, I think he has a sense of humor, at least as I understand it as a human being. But he never, ever leads people astray. He's never going to promise you that you don't have to be afraid if you don't have to be afraid. Now, I suppose if there comes a time to be afraid, he'll say that. Okay, now's the time to be afraid. But he never says that. And so the angel says to Zechariah, but since you didn't believe, okay, all right, you're not going to be able to speak for 9 months or however many months this is after that. You're not going to be able to talk. And that will demonstrate to you the power of God. Now, I've never had a situation like this one. Don't think I really want one. I'm not sure Zechariah wanted it either. I don't know. I guess maybe if he talks a lot, Elizabeth may have enjoyed the peace. I don't know. But the angel is saying to Zechariah, God said something to you. But because you don't believe, then this is going to happen. Well, in our lives, God speaks to us too. He speaks in many different ways, including the one I've already alluded to, which is don't be afraid. And sometimes it gets so hard to believe in the midst of the circumstances we find ourselves. That's the ultimate problem here. Zechariah sees the circumstances, their age, their unsuccessful efforts up to this point, and he focuses on what he understands and what he is experiencing instead of what God understands and what God can do in his life. Now, I think that principle, if you will, applies to you and me today. So many times, in the midst of uncertainty, all we see is the circumstances. We don't see or can't see or won't see, whichever the situation is, that the hand of God is also working at that very moment. So, as we prepare for Christmas, I'd ask you to look for God's hand. Look for what he's doing in your life and in those around you. Don't just focus on what seems like he's not doing. Well, thanks for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day. If you have any prayer concerns or any needs, just let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you again.